Sunday morning. With us today is Timothy DeFoor, Pennsylvania's 55th Auditor General, and his dad, who I remember meeting, was a Tuskegee Airman and fought in World War II. Well, Timothy DeFoor, tell us about your story. Tell us about your dad.
First of all, thank you for having me on the show. My dad, and thank you for recognizing, was a Tuskegee Airman. And one of the things that he and my mom used to do with me and my 5 siblings was they would always talk about government. They would always talk about what government was supposed to do with our tax-paying dollars. And I remember those conversations like they were yesterday. So at a very young age, I had an idea of what I wanted to do with my career. And that was to go after people who stole from the government, but also to make sure that government did right by the people by doing right with their tax dollars. So at a very young age, I knew what I wanted to do. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that, at that age, I went to my mom and dad and said, Mom and Dad, I want to be an auditor when I grow up. I mean, no kid does that. But I knew that I wanted to be in positions where I looked after their tax dollars. And fortunately for me, I've done that my entire career on the auditing side, but also as a law enforcement officer. So I've been blessed for quite some time, and I enjoy doing what I do. And I'm blessed to be not only the Auditor General, but the first African American in the history of Pennsylvania to be elected to a statewide position.
That's wonderful news. Your father would have been awfully proud of you, and there's so many things going on in our country now. Tell us about Pennsylvania. How is Pennsylvania going? Is it going towards common sense, or do you have anything that you're disturbed about?
Well, I said that depends on who you talk to. So with me, one of the things that I focused on is that making sure that the laws here in Pennsylvania are followed. That's my job, and to make sure that government does not violate the people's trust by spending their tax dollars in the way that's not supposed to be spent. That's why I'm considered Pennsylvania's fiscal watchdog. I'm the one looking after the money after it goes out to certain areas and make sure that it's spent properly. So if there's anything funny going on, trust me, we have a great staff here, and we're going to find that out. One of the things that a lot of people don't know about us is that during my first term, we produced over 14,000 audits. And we produce about 3,800 audits a year. So we definitely look at what's happening with the taxpayer dollars, and we make sure that there isn't anything funny going on.
Well, there's so much fraud going on in other states. So you feel that the fraud that is going on in other states, that you're on top of it, and it's not going on in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so we're on top of it. The one thing about fraud is that you're never going to stop it. And that's unfortunate. Again, I've been doing this for 30 years. You're not going to stop it. But in the states where you see rampant fraud taking place, the one reason why that happens is you have to have the proper internal controls in government in order to either stop it in some areas or deter it in other areas. And what I mean by internal controls is that government is rules. We all have rules that we have to follow. I mean, every state department has rules. When we perform audits, I have rules. So we have to follow rules. And if those rules aren't followed, then somebody who wants to steal from the government can easily do that. As me and you are speaking right now, there's somebody out there thinking about a way to get into government's pockets to get something that rightfully isn't entitled to them. So the first line of defense in order to do that is to have the proper internal controls. Now, one of the things that we do as auditors, we're the first line of defense when it comes to fraud. because we're responsible for auditing the state's checkbook. So we're the first line of defense. So one of the things that we do, if we identify fraud, then we refer that to law enforcement. That's why it's so important to have not only an auditor, but an auditor who is not only to have an auditor general, but to have an auditor general who's actually an auditor, which I am.
Well, Timothy DeFoor, Pennsylvania's 50th Auditor General, thank you for doing your job. Thank you for saving the taxpayers' money, and we'll catch up with you again real soon.
I greatly appreciate it. Thanks for having me.